So Kunal, your favorite story? Meenu wants to know. See, हमने शुरू से ही आपको ना tight spot में.
It is how we are relating it to current scenario. And second thing that I really, I was amazed to read was that you cannot out 9 mothers together and make a baby in 1 month. So whatever has happened or has to happen, there is a definite timeline for that, and it will take the time to happen, to recover, to get back to that same normal. So this is the new normal that we are, we are trying to adapt. And then there is another thing, like we are not sure how the future of work or this world will look alike. But we are just trying and adapting ourselves. Like this whole evolution has happened. If we talk about how it started, that is totally something different. And what we are now is totally different. And maybe in coming 10, 15, 20 years, it will be totally a different story altogether. So that is something which really excites me. And I look forward to this session, because here the whole intent was to actually cater to all those issues that we were facing. So it is related to HR, it is related to operations. So it was on demand that there should be a session where, HRs, they can come and they can look forward to someone who can help them out, like in this situation, how they have to get out of it, and what should be the right measures, like how they should take themselves out of this. Plus, it should not leave a negative impact. How positively taking the situation positively, we can fight with whatever is happening and come out with a better and strong personality. And now I would like to take over. I would like Neha to take this over. She has shared a few questions, and she is going to reveal who is the winner of that contest. So over to Neha.
Hi all.
Net issue. Quickly, Neha, can you hear? Yeah, quickly, Neha.
Yes. So moving ahead, मैंने काफियों को messages भेजे थे about the activities which I would like you to do it, so that there is a little fun and engagement in this event. So I have got many responses. So I'm just like to show you some of the responses of the people sitting out here. Okay, so there were so many mouth-watering activities also. So now we are going to release the winner, because हमने काफी responses देखे, उनमें से we have taken out chosen two people out of those, and the first one is Akriti. So if you can, everybody applaud for her participation. Okay, and the another one is Ritansh. Clapping for you. Virtual clapping. So I would like Prerna to announce what we have in for them. Over to you, Prerna.
Yeah, thank you so much, and congratulations to both of you. So you get in touch with the team. So there are few complimentary sessions, as well as there are new skill enhancement things for you, which would come your way absolutely as per your requirement and what your plan ahead is. So let me kickstart this event. And Kunal, thank you so much for accepting. And I feel so privileged, especially this platform of ours, HR for HR. because after you being active speakers on so many various forums, and in last 3 months, I think this is the full-time job I am sure you must be doing, attending or giving 34 sessions or more, and in all various bodies like institutes and corporates, NASCOMs, colleges. So that's amazing. And I feel, wow, our HR for HR is also now to that level. So having you here. So just to give a bit of introduction about Kunal, he's a co-founder of Utrate, a very successful fintech company. He's an expert in blockchain. He's a very avid reader and a blogger. He is also founder member of CAN, that's a Chandigarh Angel Network. And also Kunal is an evangelist for entrepreneurs, and especially for young entrepreneurs like me. So I owe it to you, Kunal. You have made me survive that interesting phase, and I thank you for that. Pushing me not to give up and all. Not an easy journey though, but interesting. Your blogs and all have really fascinated me, and here the diversity is such that we have experienced people, we have some senior people from the industry, we have fresher, and also at the same time we have entrepreneurs who are donning the hat of running the company as well as running the HR department also. And your views, like most of your blogs, they keep you thinking about things. Like one thing, I never had that perspective that there is around global GDP is 85 trillion US dollar and global debt is 250 trillion dollars. Like it was, okay, that's a huge number, and such a big difference in how are we surviving. So there's the inequality over the globe, which is getting increased, and so many all other things. So you coming from that varied perspective and working in various industries, sections, different kind of people at different stages of career in their life, in the life journey, I would like to have your views on what are we heading for? How are we heading there? And where are we heading? And when are we going to reach there? Like, what are the things which you see is distant now, but we are moving towards it?
Okay, so I assume you're referring to COVID situation right now, yeah?
Yeah, whatever the situation which is presently we all are in.
Right. So from a very macro perspective, one should understand that the economy, how does it work? How does the world economy, financial systems work? So in the economy broadly, the way it works is that there are, broadly speaking, three kinds of spenders. Number one, spenders are us individually. All of us go buy some stuffs. We go out and eat, we go out and travel, we go out and clothes, go to malls, watch movies, etc. So we are what we call retail investors, retail spenders. Then there are spenders like governments. Governments will build infrastructure, governments will do things, they will run policy schemes, invest into things. Then third is the corporates, the big companies, small companies that all invest. They invest into by hiring people, by building offices, by building infrastructure, etc., etc. So these are the broad three spenders in the market. Because of the lockdown since middle of March or so in India and worldwide in many other countries, the economic cycle which was working for, because of all these three people buying, selling, spending all together, has suddenly stopped. You know, if the cycle suddenly stops and you have to start it again, which now Indian government and Indian economy is trying to do, for example, every country is trying to do, it is a harder job. It is a very hard job to start from zero. So they suddenly brought the growth and the economy to zero, to a standstill, not zero. There were still some expenditures that we were doing on basic food and ration and grocery stores and all. So barring that, everything else just suddenly stopped. Government stopped spending, corporate stopped spending, the retail individuals like us, we stopped spending, primarily because we could not. Secondly, because of the fear of the virus spreading to us somehow. And thirdly, because of the lockdowns. Now, when this whole cycle has stopped in March, starting March, April, May, Now, when the lockdowns open, it's not that suddenly the economy and the world goes back to normal, because primarily few things have happened. One, we've all had a chance to take a step back and see where we are going. All the companies have rationalized, all the individuals have rationalized in terms of their expenses, their assets, their liabilities, whoever are able to do that. And then the businesses and governments have also rationalized. Governments have said, cut out all the schemes. Government have cut down all the spending that is not important, because they're also not making any money right now. Nobody is. When this whole thing starts functioning again, it will not actually ever probably go back to, for a long time, to the same normal we were in February. In February, we were traveling, we were going to malls, we were going to hotels. All these three things are not going to be the same for another 1 to 2 years until the virus is around us. With the lockdown opening, it's just submission and admission from the government that they cannot run the country without the economic functions, without people going to work, earning money, spending money, and depositing GST and income tax and petrol tax and this tax and that tax. With that admission, governments have just opened the lockdown. It's not that they've figured anything out about the virus yet. It may take another 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, who knows? It'll take a long time. It's not going to happen this year. All the early vaccine trials are too early. They will not be conclusive. They will just be early indications. So, so until the virus is around us and the situation is not yet clear, the economy will shrink. Economy, if Indian economic size, I think last year was about $3 trillion or a bit less than that. This year, I think I'll find it hard to see how it can even touch 2.5. It'll definitely drop 10-20%, and that 10-20% minimum is a big number. That means a lot of people will lose jobs, a lot of people will be out of work. It's not that Indian economy was doing very well even before the COVID situation in Jan, Feb, or before that. It was not really growing. And the biggest impact that is yet to come is that many businesses are built on debt, are built with the bank loans. Now, and right now, what we are going through is a RBI moratorium, which means that any person who has taken any loan, any individual or any corporate, do not need to refund it or pay the EMIs or the monthly interest in these April to September period, 6 months. Come October, what's going to happen? Number one, when the banks will go to people and say, okay, pay this EMI or pay your interest for this loan that you've taken, many businesses, including real estate and especially real estate, are going to say, oh, sorry, we can't pay. There's no demand. Here is the key to your collateral, which is the building itself or which is the asset itself. A lot of that things will start happening. Everybody, for the lack of a better word, will be becoming Vijay Mallya in themselves. They will all, many people, many companies will go bankrupt. When I say many, I think broadly speaking, if in India there are 100% companies, maybe 60 to 70% have some loans, and at least 10 to 20%, including all the real estate companies and many others, will be in trouble, very likely. Anyone who has debt has a problem. This is the economic situation, which is just going to happen. It's a matter of time. So net, we are headed for a big economic correction in the next 3 to 6 months. Lot of in between, it will be painful. It is already painful. You might be seeing around you, many people lose jobs, many people get coronavirus, so it's a tough time. I'm not painting a worse picture, but I'm just giving you the reality, which you are otherwise choosing to read or not in the papers and see around you. It's a tough time. This year is very difficult. When Reliance raises money in the market, Reliance Mukesh Ambani has raised what, 1.5 lakh crores or so, 150 lakh crores, sorry, some big amount, insane amount. When HDFC Banks goes out and raise money, you know that this is the peak of the market, of the economic cycle for a while, and that the tough times are ahead of us. So we need to conserve cash. Any business needs to save cash to survive. This is what I'm telling you from a business perspective. As an individual, if you have a job, if you have some earnings, you should be grateful, continue, head down, survive this year. Do not make too many changes this year. This is not a great time. So this year is going to be a really difficult year for the whole world, geopolitically, economically, socially, culturally. I mean, imagine what will happen when some people who fall sick, and like it's happening in Delhi and Bombay, and they're not getting the beds. Hospitals, Indian healthcare system will struggle, and it will struggle everywhere in developed markets, countries as well. They're also not doing very well either. So given all these challenges, it's a tough year. Okay, short term, it is very difficult. So try to survive the year put your head down, try to be positive. These are, while knowing the reality out there, but do your best. Something you can't control, stop watching the news. Something you don't control, stop, looking at all the negative news all the time, but know that it's out there. And then in between, try to motivate yourself, be positive, do your best, and build up new skills, continue with your job, do some hard work and all that. Try to survive this year. Next year onwards, hopefully with the story that is Make in India and many other related stories that the government is going to come up with, I think India will do okay next year onwards. At some point, India should start seeing some recovery. But this year is likely to be the toughest and probably one of the worst economic years in the history of the world as far as the recorded history goes, and probably toughest for India as well, very likely. And the only silver lining is that next year or the year after, the recovery hopes are there. Recovery could be good for India. So that's a brief update on where we are, where we're going. Short term, tough time, but do your best and hopefully you would survive this, and together we can. Value things that are important to you, value your family, appreciate small things in nature. If we have a step back, let's not spend it all on watching news or just watching Netflix and all. Do that for a bit of distraction, but try to start enjoying life, appreciating what we have, because now we can't take anything for granted. Few months ago, we were taking the growth, the fast life cycle, the world we were living in, everything for granted. But now when everything stops, suddenly you realize that everything is not for granted. You would not have everything all the time. So let's appreciate what we have. Do your best, be constructive, build some new skills, enjoy this downtime, spend time with your family, appreciate small little things you did not have time for earlier, and know that this will be a tough year. And even if anything tough happens to you, try to survive the year, and then eventually, hopefully with the recovery, you would have more opportunities next year onwards. So this is broadly where we are, Prerna. I hope I've tried to answer your question in some shape or form.
No, absolutely. In fact, you are also member of IPO. There's a global leadership community of extraordinary CEOs, and where your leadership block also has given the same perspective, and which is this as per the facts and data. So very, very, closer to the reality, what we all are, facing and going through. And this also paves the way for the session theme today, that most of the people, last time when we had HR for HR, they wanted to know the perspective from the business side. So they say, as an HR community, as well as people who are yet to start their career and all, and it's a very different times they have found themselves in. They would like to know what business feels about them, what are business expectations and all. And we have got many questions, and what we have tried to do, we have clubbed those questions, and I think mostly we should be able to handle. And so going with the first question, guidance for HR fresher, what to do and what don't, how to prepare themselves for the time, because in near future it's quite unlikely that they are going to get jobs. So how do they utilize and how do they prepare themselves to enter the market?
So I think I'll probably give a very possibly not a very standard answer, but I think HR job, in my view, is mostly about working with people, reading people, understanding people. It's a lot about psychology of people. That's a skill which not many people appreciate or understand. Look, right now, I'll give an example. For me, it's very easy to say what I want to say, but it's very hard for me to say what you will all understand. So I have to sort of simplify my thoughts and say them in a way that most people will draw some value from it. Some people may still not like what I say, but that's an effort one has to put in. So as an HR, I think the understanding the human psychology is a very underrated and less appreciated skill, which many people are not necessarily good at. And that's maybe one thing they can work on and try to learn. How do people think? How do they behave? When they do something, sometimes just listening to them is enough. Their vent out by saying to you is enough. But remember, it's nothing personal to you. whatever an employee grievance might be, that person is not happy due to whatever reasons, they are being unreasonable, but still if you just hear them out, sometimes those people feel so relieved and listened to, that so these kind of things are actually not just HR jobs, they are part of the HR job as well, but they are part of the human psychology. I think if you can consider learning, understanding human psychology somehow, online learning courses, why people do what they do, what motivates people. There are tons of TED Talks on this. There are tons of videos and documentaries on this. Try to use this time to maybe learn about such things. One. Secondly, maybe improve your communication skills. Better you can communicate, more people can understand you, more likely it is that you will hopefully you'll become better at your career, whether in HR or not. And lastly, I think if you get an opportunity, you can choose to offer to work for any company who has some work for you. If they have any work for you, take the work on, even if they don't pay you, because money is less important in my view, but experience and skills you get on the job are. So frankly, anything you learn in MBA HR or any graduation in HR, what you learn in real life in a job is very different and very real. So frankly, that reality check has to happen. That experience you can get in a company only, I guess. And of course, there are good companies and bad companies. There are some who are better than others. But try to find someone with whom you learn, even if the money is not great, because you need a stepping stone. In these times, if you can get a job somewhere where you can get some good experience, good learning, I think in a year or two, your time will come. You'll be better experienced and you'll be able to earn very well and define everything else. So frankly, I think maybe as an HR fresher, if you get some exposure experience somewhere without the money, feel free to do it. Consider doing it. Do not just do it because that it doesn't pay. The experience is worth a lot, in my view.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, Kunal, just to add, I think the HR are the facilitators. So they are the people who actually let everyone to don the hat of HR. So it's not one person's responsibility for running of the organization with perspective of managing HR. If they are able to make all people connects, like people who are handling people, get into that role and make them understand that what it takes to connect to people, to communicate with them. So I think the more important role for them becomes the facilitator. So unless they themselves are very clear where and what they want in an organization, and then the second step of making the whole organization as an HR sensitive organization. So absolutely, and that has answered the next question. But I'm just moving on to the other one. So what are the hiring scenarios for various companies across the country? So maybe the question the viewer or the participant wants to ask is maybe what are the industries where they should be focused, because HR per se is a industry neutral skill.
Right. So I think most of the offline businesses are likely to struggle right now. When I say offline, it means any business which is not on your mobile app. So for example, any company that is working on, let's say, a retail business or an insurance business or an travel agency or a hospitality or aviation. So these are sectors which are hardest hit. They are not likely to recover for a long time. These are offline businesses, typical any shop, stores, Fab India, Future Pantaloons, etc. They're not likely to see any demand for a long period of time. If anything, most of them are likely to be cutting jobs right now. So I don't think they're going to be hiring much. But the businesses which are more digital are likely to adopt digitization. So maybe some tech companies are likely to do well because most of the offline world now wants to digitize. So the tech companies are likely to have some positions. Companies who can adopt digital work and can become more digital, like banks, for example. Banks can deploy more technology to interface with more clients rather than keeping people offline in the branches and all, or salespeople on the road and all. They are likely to adopt digitization. So I think more digital a company can be or is, or more it's helping others digitize, more likely it is that they have job profiles for you. Rest, of course, the best thing you can do is look up on Naukri or Monster or whatever you see. Wherever there's an opportunity to go. do consider. Otherwise, work with the network. Do not undermine the power of the network. Like you have this platform here, HR for HR. You have lots of people connects. I'm sure there are ways to communicate between you guys through WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. So do reach out. Sometimes, just having a connect and a qualified introduction can lead you to some opportunities. So that may be another way to look at it. But more digital jobs are the right ones right now. And these are the only ones which are likely to be hiring in my view.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to add on that, healthcare is definitely moving in, and consumer package industry, definitely. The other question, which few of the HR who are really struggling to make their job feel really contributing at this stage, is how to engage people. So many of you have asked that what are the various engagement activities they can think of where to engage people. I think the biggest challenge at this stage is to sustain the morale of the employees, to maintain and sustain. It is not easy because it's personally you also are. It's like a flux situation for you. It's so ambiguous VUCA world for you as well, and at the same time you taking care of all of them, saying that okay, it will pass and all. So it's a double pressure. But what I feel is that people who have been successful in doing it, they have not taken it as a something which is different. It is just that the mode of doing things have changed, nothing else has changed. So all the engagement activities which you could have done face to face, being physical, you all those activities can be tried virtual, and you have more scope of doing few things which you would not have otherwise. It's more fun doing it in this way. So don't restrict yourself, don't struggle. It's just that open yourself. There's nothing whatever, and everyone is trying. It's not that everyone is judging you and whether it will work or not. Everyone is appreciating all little efforts one is putting to have that sanity among employees and have the sanity among the people around. So all the efforts are appreciated. Just go ahead and do that. Don't be bothered that how it's going to be evaluated. Just keep doing. So many people may be not saying, and you are not able to get the cue from the body language. However, many of them are really thankful that there is someone they can see, someone they can talk, somewhere they can share, because many of them may be staying alone, and many of them have really missing those connects, human connects and all. So it's absolutely okay. Just keep doing and keep trying without judging yourself and without thinking much about the feedback. Just remove that thing that this is a different situation. It is not different. The way of doing things have changed. Okay, so the other question, losing job is most difficult situation faced so far. How do we tackle and cope up at this time?
So I think, look, it's likely and possible that many people are going to lose jobs, millions of them. Unfortunately, you could be one of them. If you are, I think, take it as an opportunity, because in your job, sometimes when you were in job in February, I'm sure you were thinking about making a switch or doing something else or getting some new skill or switching careers or something. Use this downtime as an opportunity to consider your options. Look, there are things you can't avoid. If you can't avoid, might as well enjoy them. Frankly, move on. There's no point being too negative about it. It won't help. Okay. Okay, it's not comfortable. I'm sure it'll put you out of your comfort zone. But generally, that's where the magic happens. When people are out of their comfort zone is when they do their best. In the comfort zone, we do nothing. Frankly, we are used to just day-to-day life and passing time. But once you're pushed out of your comfort zone, you're likely to do better. So use it as a positive. Take it with on the chin and just say, it's a challenge. I need to do something. Move to a different location, or work with a different company, or move to a different sector, move to a different role if you can, or otherwise take on some good new skills that we talked about. And just take it positively. If you can't avoid it, there's not much you can do. It's not you, it's a market, it's a world that is changing, and it's gonna change for a lot of companies. There are a lot of billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar. If you just Google it, you'll find tons of them that are going down, that have gone under. What did they do wrong? Not much, but it's a time. Sometimes when it's not your time, it's not your time, right? So I think use it as an opportunity. Try to take a step back, see where you want to go in life, what do you value, what you should be doing. Try to be closer to your family if you can, and pick up some new skills, move into things you enjoy more. Hopefully, if there are opportunities there, that'd be good. Or otherwise, build up your skills to get into roles where you are likely to enjoy more, so that life is not about another compromise or another career job only. To do things that you can enjoy, and hopefully something positive will come out in 1 to 2 years time.
Absolutely, rightly said. And in fact, otherwise, even when we see around, Kunal, whenever you stop justifying your salary, when we stop taking risks, when we stop going out of our comfort zone, that when we are so complacent that we are happy in our comfort zone. So those are anyway the indications and the chances that we are at the verge of losing jobs. But here, many of those situations now clubbed up, or it could be that there are things which you can't control, so you have no control. It's not you, it's the situation, as you have rightly said. It's just that how you make most of it. And I feel there is now a time to shift yourself from maybe a bigger role, a bigger designation, position, branded organization, from there to just learning new skills or working in a totally different environment where there is a firefight, where you don't know. So actual learning happens, which makes you really employable in various sectors and various positions and various roles, and which can really prepare you for more and beyond what the role of HR you are doing. And exactly the which is leading to our next question, that can the HR person become a CEO of a company?
Sure. I think if you think about it, what is a core job? What is a core profile needed to be a CEO? So think about that. I think the first thing is you need to be able. One of the things, of course, you need many skills. You need good communication. You need to be able to sell. You need to be able to lead people, inspire them. In HR, you have some of these skills. You are generally, you are meant to have good communication. Most of you do. You do interact with people, get them to do pretty much what you need or how you need what your organization needs. This is what a CEO does as well. On top of that, if you can, based on your communication skills, if you can learn the underlying product business domain, you can build the sales skills as well. You can sell a bit. And then after that, it's about having a vision, and that comes with some experience, that comes with a lot of experience and knowledge and learning, etc., which you can, I'm sure, sooner or later learn. But definitely, I think one of the biggest jobs of a CEO is to be the HR. If you can't bring the team together, you cannot run a successful company. All the great CEOs are very good at HR functions. They understand them, they understand people, they manage them, they inspire them, they bring them together, etc. So you have quite a lot of those skills in HR functions already. One of the things CEOs don't want to do is let the HR function go. When the moment they hire an HR manager, means that they're too busy building or scaling the business, right? That's how the startups grow. Day one, CEO is the HR. Day two, CEO hires an HR manager and moves into the other bigger functions or scaling up the business, right? So I think HRs are to be the CEOs. They just need to build upon a few more things, and they could start their own venture into things they believe in.
Absolutely. And that's very, very encouraging. And because the basic skills we all have, as you have rightly said, it's just that we removing those barriers which we have created ourselves, that we are limited to only one function, and that is HR. So it's very easy for us to move into sales. It's very easy for us to maybe having basic understanding of financials, which is another critical skills, which with the conscious effort you can always learn. But it is, the restriction is only that I am restricting myself because I am an HR person and I can only handle this much. It's nothing, because around 70-80% skills we already have. It's just the extra push we need to have, and that comes, so these HR skills come as an added advantage. So absolutely yes for that question. The other question is, what are 3 critical changes required in HR functioning of the HR department, which will be the new normal after the COVID?
So I think first thing is all the companies will eventually need to adopt a hybrid model, which is offline and online. So you will need to enable work from home for everyone. You will need to find a way to track them, track their work performance, etc., as well as enable the offline in-office working, because many people may not have infrastructure or they may not be motivated enough to work from home for a variety of reasons. So the future is online plus offline. It's not only offline, it's not only online. That's, I think, one that, so your HR policies need to reflect that. If somebody is working half day from office, half day from home, you need to be able to manage that from HR processes perspective. That's probably one. Second is that you'll need to, I think the engagement model will become more virtual, has to be virtual enabled. So like we were talking in the previous question, couple of questions ago, that the engagement model is online now. So any offline activity or fun activity you were doing with your teams in the office are now likely to be online. So you might be encouraging them to play a game together on a screen rather than, or on a phone rather than in the office. So you'll need to enable that virtual engagement process. So for that, you'll need to figure out good motivational games, constructive team building exercises, etc., that need to be done online now, more online than offline. And thirdly, I think you will need to also spend all the management, HR functions will need to spend more time tracking all the people, because mental health is likely to become an issue for quite a few people. So I don't think it's that easy and constructive to just say people work from home and we are sorted, because many people do not have good infrastructure at home, or in the home they are living alone. They don't have families. They are not facing anyone. They're stuck in a lockdown. They're unable to go out. They are actually all the day in front of a screen. And they may have other emotional challenges which get accentuated at this point, because now they're not in the office, coming to office every day and meeting dozens of people or hundreds of people every day, and, you know, socially interacting with people. Now they may have offline challenge. They may have some mental health challenges, and it's likely to come out quite a bit, in my view. I had seen a couple of such cases as well personally. So I think for HR to be relevant and be close to their family, to be close to their team and interact more with them will be very, very crucial. So you will need to deal and take care of your team members very, very constructively, and try and address all their problems online. So that's probably the most new normal you're going to have.
Absolutely. The other question is how to handle employee issues during virtual working. Nothing much changes. You can handle, it's just that more communication, more connect, more human touch. So there is nothing called over communication. Anyway, there is no concept of over communication when we are working together. Physically, we are together at a place. However, in times like these, there are more need for having more level of communication at various level. So initially, the studies have shown that people who are working virtually, they have deficit of trust as compared to people who are working together. And also those are other things which we need to, but continuously working, continuously reinstating, continuously showing that you are there, you are trusting, because there are more chances of you losing out on all that, because you are not getting cues from the body language. So which is 75% time you are talking about or giving signals. So slightly more effort required, but this is a very, very critical thing at this stage which you need to have. The other question which is so how to can we actually terminate on an employee on performance, discipline and other factors? Absolutely, why not? There's nothing which stops you, and in case you have enough data points, because even you would have taken that decision when you were there physically in the office. You would have relied on data and the facts and all these artifacts with you. So same goes here. You should have given the opportunity to the person to respond, to correct himself or herself, unless there is a zero tolerance issue. And considering all that, if you have those things in hand, absolutely go ahead. Just one more thing, like at times you need to give benefit of doubt to people because of the technical issues like internet not working, so they're not submitting the work. So in that case we need to be more accommodating because these situations are different and we can't take so even if the slightest of the doubt at this stage, give benefit of doubt. But unless you are absolutely clear that it's a deliberate thing, things are not happening and all, go ahead and take those decisions and actions is absolutely safe. Okay, very, very interesting question, Kunal, for you here. How to change perception of people that HR are mostly, free and they don't have much work in hand. So they make themselves as if they work a lot, but generally they don't. Perception.
Yeah. So I think that's a human psychology that if I think out of sight is out of mind. What it means is that if you are not, I think the way to do it is let's over communicate, like you said, send periodic messages to your team, to your management, what all is going on, your weekly task list or your daily, processes that you're following. So I think just not communicating sometimes may mean that management or employees may feel that you're not doing much, or HR function is just at home sitting idle because let's say hiring is not closing, no review processes are happening, no engagement is going on, so no work is there. But maybe there is a lot of effort that has gone in behind all those functions. It's just that they've not materialized yet. So I think transparency is a good way. Make it transparent what all you are up to, what are you doing. All the leaders actually on a weekly basis try to take a step back and see what they did, how they can do better next week, etc. So maybe you can do that as well yourself on a daily or a weekly basis, and then send those updates to your team, to your people you are working with, you are working for, who are reporting to you that, look, this is broadly what I'm doing. These are a few things I wanted to get done. These got done. These did not get done. These are my learnings. Next time I'm going to do that. So just over communication, like you said, transparency, and all that. But beyond a point, people who will have such perceptions may have those perceptions and judgmental minds, and you can't change them and shouldn't worry about them too much. As long as people who matter, who are gonna make the decisions for you, your management or whoever you're reporting to, make sure they are aware and familiar with what you're up to on a periodic basis. Do send weekly task lists and keep stuff transparent, and track it for your own purpose as well. So that's the only thing I can say.
Yeah, and you have also hinted on a very critical skill of selling. Even what work you are doing needs to be sold, because people will not know unless you tell them that this is what you have done. So selling comes very handy. And we need to, at times, I have seen many HR people who say, काम करेंगे तो अपने आप दिख ही जाएगा. At many times वो खुद नहीं दिखता है, आपको दिखाना पड़ता है. You need to actually show that what you have done. Rightly you have said that it needs to be pushed, because even to the CEOs at times, they are too busy in other things. They would not have noticed what all has gone behind in tackling a situation which has absolutely taken your 2 full working days. The person, unless you tell that this is what you were busy with, the other person would not know. Right. So, rightly. So, one more question, and then we move on to the questions in the chat. People say HR jobs are less in number than marketing jobs, and so we should not be taking HR because our employability gets reduced, or chances to get employee gets reduced as compared to sales and marketing job.
So I think rather than looking at whether there is only one job for that role or not, what you should think about is, what do you enjoy more? You should really figure out, if you want to work with people, if you want to be an HR, try to speak to some people who are in HR to tell you what the job is like, and see if you're going to like it or not. I think you should not just worry about employability, because if you're just worrying about employability, I think you have a bigger problem, that you're not going to be satisfied with just getting a job. You'll just do the bare minimum and keep a job going. That's not great. I think ideally you should look for, if you can, things that you may like to do, whether it's a marketing job, it's a sales job, it's your own startup, or being an HR manager, or whatever you want to do. But I think try and find what you enjoy more. I think if you enjoy something more and you get into that stream and that career path, if you're enjoying it, you're likely to do well. And then after that, no matter what the competition, you're gonna do well. You're gonna bring the best out of yourself, and you will be happier at peace that you are doing things you enjoy. So that's more important to me than just that aligning yourself to somewhere where there are more jobs versus the others. Because even if there are more jobs in sales and marketing, it's not that everyone still gets a job. So, many people are still not, will struggle. And they will struggle because that's not their passion. That's not what they necessarily enjoy. So my suggestion is that look for things that you enjoy doing. Forget about where there are more jobs or not. That you can map over later, in my view.
Absolutely. So one question from Sanjeev for everyone, and Meenu, I'll come to your question later on. So is it safe to assume that there will be very few new startups now, or do you see still some brave hearts venturing into new businesses?
So generally the downtimes are good times to start a business. So frankly, any startup that had started in the last couple of years or 2, 3, 4, 5 years may struggle, are likely to struggle because they've not yet built a strong enough foundation to continue, and they may struggle. And again, everyone's different. I'm trying to generalize, but without giving a full, complete impression on all companies. But these times generally are not bad to start, because in the startup, typically first 1 to 3 years are spent in building the product or the service or something. In these downtimes, if you start building in 1 to 2 years, when you have a product or service or something working, you're likely to scale when the market starts growing. So that time you will have opportunities. So if you remember, go back in 2099, Google was started. Go back to 2008, Uber and Airbnb were started. Groupon was started. So there are companies which start at downtimes and do well. So I think the new startups will start. My view, people are just out of compulsion or out of choice. People who don't have jobs may consider doing their startups. People who wanted to do a startup, now they don't have a job, will consider doing it. Some people are just so passionate, they're going to do it. So some startups will start, but the existing ones are likely to struggle in my view, because this is the toughest economic phase they're going to see in a long time. But net after that, we'll see how many survive, how many don't, how many grow or not. That's a lot dependent on luck and many other things besides your own efforts. But I think startups will, and I'm seeing a lot of them starting right now, and I suggest this is a good time. It's not a bad time.
Absolutely. So so moving to your question, Meenu, how to map ethics in organization. So there is so as we've said, when you are virtual, there is a trust deficit. Then you are not sure. So even if you are sitting at home, employer might be feeling that the person might be working on various different projects. So the person is employed full time with me, but might be taking up or working for some other person or other organization. You can't control and be responsible. You can't physically go there and check. So it has its pros and cons, but the whole the way of doing things are changing. Now there is more trust you need to have at the very first, unless otherwise proved. You got to let go of more control or managing approach of, I am managing my employees, they are in front of me, I know where their time is going and what they are doing. Even if they have spent more time in the chai break and all, they should be back in on their seat to do work. Now you don't have those kind of controls, and it's good that you don't have it. Now it's the outcome based things. So the same approach, because ethics and integrity is so much vital to any organization. It's just that the mode of you reiterating again and again needs to change. The method of execution needs to change. Once they step into the organization, there's a vibe, there's a culture, as we call it. There are maybe posters to tell you that these are our values we stand for. There are people we are communicating, talking about what happened to this deal. We dropped it because of these reasons. So all that reinforce the ethics and integrity piece of the organization. Here you need to make it a point to let the people know on a regular basis that it still exists, and then needs to pick up those things, that these are zero tolerance things for us, and there could be an action. So that communication and expectation setting needs to happen. Okay. So Vishal is asking how to handle employee